Hey, I'm Sammy Ruiz, and you're watching Mr. Death Breath. So Mr. Death Breath and I watched MIDSOMMAR recently. So my thoughts on the movie. To start, I am a pretty big fan of Ari Aster. Of course, with his first movie, I went into watching that, and I really enjoyed it because it touched on the supernatural, paranormal, and that happens to be my favorite type of horror. So I was initially pretty excited for MIDSOMMAR, thinking that MIDSOMMAR was going to be paranormal and supernatural. But I will say the first time I had seen it, I saw it opening day. I walked out in complete shock. Without spoiling, I will say that it was not a paranormal and supernatural movie, so I was kind of let down. And I do remember that after watching the movie, we all walked out of the theater, and everyone was dead silent. And there was this dude who kind of broke the silence, and he's like, well, that's a movie, and that's exactly kind of how we all felt. It's so much to take in. So I think after the first time, I wasn't really even sure if I liked it, watching MIDSOMMAR. But the second time I saw the director's cut, and I did like it. I saw a lot of stuff. I caught a lot of things I didn't catch the first time. I think I could relate to both characters, both main characters, Danny and Christian. I've been in both of their situations. And I thought the ending of that movie really, really got under my skin. I really don't know why exactly, but it really, really bothered me. But I would say that, I guess it is a horror movie in certain people's opinions, but it could not be a horror movie. It could be something else. But I really enjoyed it. I think I liked the cinematography. He gave us horror in daylight, dealing with cults, and he did a lot of research with his the pagans and the runes that he uses and stuff. But it feels like something that could happen. There's probably cults like that out there in Sweden or wherever else. There's probably people doing that stuff out there, and that's pretty terrifying. And I think the biggest part too is it wasn't terrifying to them, because that's just what they do. That's their normal way of being with their culture.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mr. Death Breath, and as always, I do spoiler-free film reviews, sometimes celebrity interviews. Thank you so much for Sammy to coming out to my place. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about MIDSOMMAR. Okay, so first off, let me say, Mr. Ari Aster, I am sorry for criticizing your work. What, Mr. Death Breath? You're taking back what you said? Yes, I am. Sometimes things just don't translate well the first time, like Sammy expertly pointed out. So let me touch a little bit on Hereditary. Hereditary was a film that I didn't like because it was very non-traditional. I'm not talking about jump scares, but the way it was made, it was just done differently. Kind of like if any of you had a chance to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It wasn't so much about the destination, but more the journey along the way. And now taking it back to MIDSOMMAR, it's the same type of situation. This kind of movie is the kind of movie where it isn't about the accumulation of everything at the end, but it's about the process and the journey, the people you meet along the way, the things you see, the stop signs, you know, the landmarks, essentially, if you will. And that's what this movie was really about. So let's dive a little deeper, okay? So, it's hard without being spoiler-free on this one, because there's so much I want to talk about. You know the struggle, Sammy. But anyway, so what made this movie amazing was the fact that, yeah, it's very believable. It's very real. There are cults that are out there, you know? There's people. For instance, I know there's a cult somewhere in the world where, if you look it up, there's a missionary that went out there and got killed. You know? He was trying to spread the gospel of Jesus and got murdered. And you know, this movie doesn't necessarily criticize cults as they are, because, you know, I know that everyone's entitled to live how they want to live, and I respect that, but it is a little unsettling in some of the situations and some of the things, you know? And what makes this movie really great is the fact that it leaves you with an analysis where you can analyze these things later. Like, for instance, you know that someone may think a certain way, but at some point someone knows what's the proper way and the wrong way to do things. I mean, you know, just basic laws that we know as humans, fundamental laws, and these laws are forgotten in this film. But what makes it so sinister is you know that while these people are dogmatically believing what they're told, there's someone that is pulling the strings and that does know what's going on. And I'm talking specifically about cult members. And that's what makes it so scary. Like, you know, you have these characters doing these actions, and then you see them reaping the consequences of these actions. And what's interesting is it opens up a discussion in your mind later on when you watch the film where you're thinking, I wonder if at that moment they knew something was off. I wonder if that moment maybe that wasn't the best choice and they realized it. And that's why the film is so amazing. That it's shocking so much because, oh, they have a backwards culture, but it's more shocking because you know that some people follow things without questioning them. You know, and you can take that anywhere in your life, wherever you want to go with it, and that's where this film really touches. Now, I know a lot of you are going to do exactly what I thought. Oh, it's a stupid cult movie. It's The Witch. It's Burning Man. It's you know, whatever. Yeah, you know, it does have those elements, but it truly is incredible, because not only is it absolutely beautiful, but the acting's amazing, and there's just some really shocking things. And And like I said, not a criticism on culture, but more just the situations are horrific. Like, you know, like things you wouldn't expect to see. Like, you know, not true to the movie, but maybe people being eaten alive by bears because it's a choice. Again, not an actual example, but things along those lines. And it's truly amazing. I mean, I really love this film on so many levels.
Okay, so I'm going to give Midsommar, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 9.2. A 9.2 because for me, it's probably one of my top movies that I've ever seen as far as horror. And again, people could probably not call it horror. It could be called something else, maybe a drama. I would say, speaking of like the Ari Aster world, I would give Hereditary a 10 because it deals with things that I like, the paranormal, the supernatural. But yeah, Midsommar 9.2 because I thought the visuals were great, the storyline was pretty good, something we can all relate to when you guys see that. And that ending really, again, just really bothered me. So that'd be my rating.
Yeah, my rating is going to be a 10 out of 10. Again, I'm sorry, Mr. Astor, for trashing a movie. I really didn't expect it to affect me the way it did. And I know this sounds so weird, but it's one of those movies that really it really finds a way to put a seed in your head where you keep thinking about it. It had some amazing visuals. The whole film was very, very confusing and strange. It felt like you were experiencing things from the perspective of the characters. I know you could be like, you experienced that in Endgame. No, you didn't experience people evaporating. You just saw it. I mean, you really feel like you're with these people. And it really was unsettling and blew me away. And I mean, it's just one of those movies that it's easy to discredit because there's many like it, but it's really its own thing and it's fantastic.
So in Midsommar, I think, because I remember watching this movie on a Wednesday. That's the day it came out. I went opening day, and it was a full theater. And again, walking out of the theater, everyone was in complete shock. I got home, and I was still in shock. I was in a haze. But the next morning, I tried to eat, and I remember I could not eat because of the ending. It really bothered me, and just the visuals of the ending. And the music that's playing at the in the ending, which is very intentional. It's just like, it was extremely disturbing for me. But that's probably the biggest thing that stuck out of my mind. But I think, yeah, it dealt with the cults, and I have thought about cults previously, and it kind of gave some insight, although this is a fictional story, but it gave some insight as to what could be happening in these cults that are secluded. Just as Mr. Deathbreath said, with this guy that got killed trying to preach the word of God, you know, you can't imagine what kind of stuff they're doing, cannibalism and things like that. And to them, it's normal. And maybe they think our way of living is the crazy stuff.
Some things that really stood out to me were things with the food and things with the beverages. Yeah. And just because it wasn't nasty because that's what they were doing, but it was nasty because it just seemed gross. You know?
Yeah.
Like from the ick factor, like, oh, you know?
So I think I grew to dislike the cult because of their grotesque actions, but I kind of grew to like them because they were a family. They experienced everything together. They all sat together. They all went through certain things together, and you kind of that's what the thing with this movie is. You're mixed about it. You're like, wait, are these people bad? Are they good? They're a family, but they're also complete psychos.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's also kind of weird because on the flip side of that, when you're part of the cult, you seem like you're safe. But if you're someone trying to get into the cult, you're not safe. And that's what's kind of scary, specifically with a situation regarding a tree.
Mm-hmm,
like, yeah, that person could have been more apologetic, but the consequence was such an extreme reaction that it makes you wonder, like, I mean, that these people aren't really good people, because that's such an extreme reaction. That's like me accidentally knocking your hat and you stabbing me in the neck with a knife. You know, it was just such an extreme thing that it makes you wonder where they are at mentally.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they were out there mentally. But yeah, this movie's it made me really think on it. I mean, I still think about it. I just bought the movie it came out on DVD.
I need to buy it.
And I watched it again. I watched it a few more times, but it goes really deep. It goes into nature, the harmony of nature. You could kind of see those undertones.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice mention.
How things are in harmony, but things are also chaotic, which kind of really, that is nature in itself. But yeah, I think I always keep going back to the ending because that really bugged me.
Oh my gosh, that ending is okay. Okay, guys, so Sammy, this is really hard to not talk about and talk about it, right?
So I want to talk about it, but I can't.
We're doing this because we're good people. Yeah, it's so hard. But that ending got me so bad. The cut on the roof of your mouth, it's like, oh, that stings. Be like, let me just scratch it 10 more times. That's how I feel like that ending was.
Yeah.
To say that some people get hurt, but they are not supposed to get hurt. You could say that.
Right.
And the thing is, it's more the fact that they're misled to believe something else. And then you know that at that moment what they're thinking and what the people around them that are in the same situation are thinking. If you know what I'm talking about, we're talking about the bear scene with the people. And that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Specifically, the relaxed nature of these individuals. Just being relaxed, thinking everything's going to be okay, only to find out it's totally a lie. And I guess adding more is the fact that someone knows that they're deceiving everyone. At least that's kind of the undertone I always picked up.
Yeah. I think even from the beginning of the movie, without spoiling, the deception starts happening from the very beginning, and you start to catch things like, oh man, everything might have been premeditated.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And again, without saying too much, certain characters were brought for a certain reason to this specific town. You remember the town's name? Is it Horga?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Horga. I gotta see it again. It's but yeah, certain characters were brought to Horga for certain reasons to fulfill certain roles that were needed for certain reasons.
Yeah.
without spoiling. That's the thing with this movie. It just keeps going back and forth. Like, oh, what if this? Or what? Maybe not. And so after watching this movie, I almost on a daily basis I think about it. Like, oh, wait, I gotta see it again because I didn't catch this certain part, or I didn't. I gotta see this person's facial expression during this scene because maybe they knew something. But yeah, it's a movie that I'm gonna watch for a long time, and I think it's a movie that's gonna stick around for a long time. I could probably understand how people might not like this because it's very different. Ari Aster, I think that's why I liked him so much. When I first seen Hereditary, I went into that really not knowing what was going to happen, and again, I thought I liked it so much because it deals with the occult and the paranormal and all that kind of stuff, the supernatural that I'm into. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where he goes next with some of his next movies. I heard that he might not make a horror movie next. He's going to go into comedy. So, but he did say, I was reading an interview that he did say that although it's going to be it's going to be a dark comedy that's still going to deal with head trauma, so it's still probably going to be really extremely disturbing somehow.
Oh gosh!
So I think that's just his style. And if you look at him, I watched some of his interviews and the breakdowns they do on some of the movies on Midsommar and Hereditary. He's a very quiet guy. He's very shy, but there's some monsters in there.
It's gonna be about head trauma. The guy's gonna be like seeing demons or something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super dark. It's like, this is a comedy. It's like, is it though? Because no one's laughing.
Well, yeah, that's all Ari Aster described this movie in one of the interviews. He had said it's a fantasy. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess it is, but it's an extremely disturbing fantasy.
And he was inspired by romantic comedies. Like, it just doesn't fit. The plug doesn't fit the socket.
Yeah. He talks about some of the influences that inspired this movie. I think I could say that in some of the interviews he went through a breakup.
He mentioned that. Yeah,
that inspired this movie.
You know what's interesting though? He said this is his first actual horror movie. He said the first film he made, Hereditary, or like not his first, but his first major picture, Hereditary, was actually about grief. Well, this one was actually supposed to be a horror movie, but he doesn't consider Hereditary a horror movie. Yeah,
that's strange. I know. Yeah, so that's the thing with his films. It's some people might call Midsommar a horror film, but it might be a drama. I don't know. But whatever. I guess he did consider it a horror film. But then he has his. I don't know if you've seen his first short film on YouTube, which is called Something Strange About the Johnsons.
You told me about it like 4 times. I still haven't seen it. I need to add that and watch that.
Yeah, that was pretty disturbing. And it's I wouldn't even call it a horror movie, but yeah, it was very disturbing. I think it's on YouTube. You guys are able to watch it.
What's interesting is like with acting, like if you're gonna play, for instance, like a character like Hitler, right? Mm-hmm. You can't, like, as an actor, you have to be objective. And you can't approach Hitler as a megalomaniac that wants to murder people, because then it's hard to separate the fact that that's an evil individual, Mm-hmm. But instead you have to approach it differently. Like maybe, like with Hitler, not endorsing Hitler. I'm just simply talking about acting. The guy was a monster. Okay, so just to make that clear. But you'd have to think from the perspective, if you're going to act as Hitler, that maybe you're trying to do good for your country by eliminating something you consider a threat. So you would view it as, I'm a good guy, and I'm eliminating, for instance, a problem in my country that's hurting my country.
Right.
And you'd play it that way, because if you play it that way, you can actually, in a way, not that you want to, but you can empathize with maybe what he thought.
Right.
As opposed to playing him as, I'm trying to kill people because I'm an idiot and I'm, just an evil person. Because it's harder to play that, because then you're not really acting. You're playing just a caricature, if you will.
Yeah. That's why I think that perspective is important in this movie, because if you see it from every perspective, from every character, you're going to see this movie as a different movie. And that's what's interesting about it. But yeah, I'm going to talk about this movie for probably the rest of my life. And it's going to be one of those movies that stick in people's minds.
Yeah, certainly. And adding more to Ari Aster, it's like that's how he approaches filmmaking. Like, Hereditary is considered a drama.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, if you remove all the spooky elements to it, it's really just a family dealing with grief.
Yeah, exactly.
It isn't until you get the accumulation at the end and all the seeds planted throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing. And I fully agree that this movie is a rare gem, and I think to not watch it is to miss out.
Yeah.
On not only a beautiful piece of cinema, but an intense study on other people's lifestyles.
Oh yeah, definitely. For anyone who appreciates the horror and being scared and being uncomfortable while watching something, this is a movie that I think does it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see his... I think he did say he's going to come back to horror probably 3 or 2 films down the line. But I'm extremely excited to see what he does next.
I theorize he's never going to step away from horror. I think it's still going to have a horror element.
Oh yeah.
Like he's friends with like ghosts or something, but it's going to be spooky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He has his demons.
Yeah.
The song's called "The Ghost of L.A." Moonlight roaming through the night, the devil's in the demons stirring up fright. The depths of the shadows where we hide. You better make a run, we're coming out tonight with the ghosts. With the ghost of L.A. With the ghost of L.A. With the ghost of L.A. With ghost of L.A. We're just a little strange in the way we behave. We like spooky things and we're just a bit deranged. If you don't fit in and you just don't belong, come on by my side and come and sing along with the ghost. With the ghost of L.A. Ghost of L.A. With the ghost of L.A. With the ghost of L.A. Again, that song's called "The Ghost of L.A." I got a new album out right now on iTunes or anywhere where you can stream music. But I also have physical CDs for sale on my website, theartofsammyruiz.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Sammy Ruiz. You might know him from his art. You might know him for his music. Look at that. Ghost of LA out now and on all streaming services. Sammy, my first question, how long has this album been in development?
Man, it's been in development for a long time. I would say, as far as the year, probably 2011 or 2012. I've always had the idea to record an album. And a lot of the songs that are on the CD are songs that I never played with my band, the Bad Luck Bandits. So, yeah, these were songs that I just started doing on the side, and that's the reason, that's how I kind of got into playing acoustic guitar gigs, is it kind of gave me the opportunity to play these songs live and to see what people would think, and some people liked them, but ever since 2012 or 11, it was always a thought to record them. But yeah, I think this year, something just kicked in. I'm like, time's ticking, and I've been thinking about it for way too long, and it's time to do it. So I saved up some money, got into a recording studio over in Orange County. A shout out to Dave Irish. He's the engineer who recorded me. He records a lot of other amazing bands. But yeah, we knocked it out in 2 days, and pretty much from there, everything went pretty fast as far as the distribution on iTunes and all the. It's pretty much streaming on all the music services, and now I just got those physical CDs in a few days ago.
So you had these songs just like sitting in a drawer, written lyrics and knowing the guitar chords, and you took years to release them?
Yeah. A lot of these songs, like for example, there's a song, one of the songs on the CD called "In a Cigarette's Time." That song I wrote it back in 2011.
Wow.
2012, yeah. And I played here and there, like when I would do acoustic gigs. But yeah, that's a really old song. And for anyone that knows my daughter, because that song's about my daughter, in the song there's kind of reference to her age, and she's probably like 3 or 4 in the song, and now she's 11. So
wow, that's crazy.
It's a long time, yeah.
This album's so good, and there's so many good songs on it. And to think that you just had it sitting there, and if you never made the move to make it become a thing, it would never be out now, and there wouldn't be a physical copy and on Spotify and streaming services out.
Yeah, I'm really glad I did it. I'm glad it was one of my bucket list items to do. And I was never going to release it. I just recorded it, and I paid the money to record it. And I was just going to put it away in a drawer just to keep it as a memento. But yeah, I showed some people some songs on my social media sites, and some people seem to like them. I'm like, oh, why don't I just record it? Just go all out. It's a fun process. I enjoy the process of. I drew the CD cover. I had my sister. She's my photographer, so she took some pictures of me over where we're from in Highland Park. And it was fun. I'm a graphic designer as well, so I kind of pieced it all together. But I really enjoyed that process of it, the grind of it. That was the funnest part of the whole process. And recording it too, of course.
Okay, so I know the album's called Ghost of LA. But you have a lot of great songs on there, like Mr. Nick, and obviously Lovers and Liars, and of course Ghost of LA. Those being 3 of my favorites, to be honest with you. And I like Midnight Sinner too. I love that whole guitar intro. But I digress. So if you were to summarize this whole album, because it has so many emotions, going from addiction to love to betrayal, right? To even deals with the devil. What song would encapsulate this album as a whole? If you were to say that this song is my sound for this whole album, what song would that be?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. I would have to pick probably Lovers and Liars. I think that one was the theme of this album seems to be love, I think, in regards to the writing of the lyrics. And I think that guitar, the way it sounds, kind of, that seems to be what I gravitate towards when I start playing guitar naturally, when I just pick it up. But I think, yeah, Lovers and Liars, if there would be a second, I would say Mr. Nick. That's, I kind of like the way that song is played on the guitar. That really fast strumming.
Yeah, I love that.
But I will say, to touch on Ghost of LA, that song was only written probably 2 weeks before I recorded the CD.
You're freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I was sitting down one day and I was kind of thinking of different songs I can do. And as I was thinking of songs I can record, I just started naturally playing. I played the intro of the guitar, like, and yeah, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I just wrote some lyrics out, and yeah, 2 weeks later it was recorded.
Oh my gosh. Like, that song is just, it doesn't go away. So, okay, so my question is this. So, in Mr. Nick, you deal with themes of people selling their souls to the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, I've noticed your rapid success, and I noticed how you've been having a monumental rise from going with playing with Rancid for the second time in your life to getting CDs and getting a great fan response. So did you make a backwards deal with the devil, like maybe some train tracks?
Hey, maybe I did. Maybe it's in the contract that I can't talk about it.
Ooh.
No, but yeah, I've always liked the theme of that, like the Robert Johnson story where he sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads of Tennessee, Mississippi. I'm drawing a blank, but
some southern state,
somewhere in the South, yeah. But I've always liked the theme of that, and actually, that song was it was actually a short story that I wrote in high school.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a short story called "The Forsaken Man," and it dealt with a musician who was playing at a club, who was kind of down on his luck, and yeah, he met this really charming guy at the bar, and the song is very similar to the short story, but yeah, he ends up selling his soul for fame, glory, talent.
Wow. You should expand on that. It actually sounds really amazing.
Yeah, actually I want to expand on the full version of the story, and I'm going to come back to it because I wrote that story back when I was 16, 17 years old. So I'm going to revisit that and see, maybe I can put it out on YouTube or something.
You should, definitely. Okay, so my other question. So this is the second time you played with Rancid. Mm-hmm. So what was it like with the audience responding? How did you feel? Did you come back feeling more invigorated because this was the second time?
Yeah, I think... Well, yeah, the first time I was very young. The first time we had played with them was in 2008. So I was still a kid. I was like 20 years old. So yeah, that first time, I think everything came so fast, I didn't realize what we were doing. We played the show, and we had probably a 30-minute set with my band, the Battle of Bandits. And yeah, revisiting that, I would have never thought in a million years I would be getting that chance again to play with them. But this time around, I realized all the mistakes I made back then, I'm going to fix this time. So the crowd reaction to the set was, of course, a little different because back then I played with a band. This time I'm playing by myself. But people seem to like it. I think that's what I'm learning about the acoustic guitar stuff is that, yeah, you don't have a full band behind you, but it's what you bring to the performance. And people seem to like some of the songs, and there was quite a bit of people watching too. We played in, I went on tour with them for the last 3 shows of the big tour that they were doing with Pennywise. It was Iron Reagan and the English Beat. So I joined them for the last 3 shows. It was Salt Lake City. Then from there we drove to Denver. So there was 2 shows in Denver, Colorado. But yeah, I think all 3 places were pretty packed. But Denver was probably the most packed.
Did you feel more nervous because you didn't have the backing of a band? Like, not because of your ability, but because you didn't have the comfort of sharing your discomfort and nervousness with other people?
Actually, surprisingly, no. I felt more comfortable being by myself.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they called my name. And they said, all right, it's your turn. I walked out, and I felt completely normal. Yeah, I felt really good.
And did you notice the crowds were growing for your performances? 'Cause I know that you were being advertised on it. So did you notice that you were getting more of a crowd each night?
What the Denver night, well, the first show in Denver, that was probably the most crowded. Because it was a Saturday show. That probably had a lot to do with it, too. The Sunday show wasn't as crowded, so I don't think the crowd got bigger necessarily. But what I did notice is when I first started playing, when I first started singing, because I try to project my voice pretty loud, and I sing with the kind of a raspy voice. So I noticed people in the crowd, the people at the bar turned around to look at me.
Oh, wow.
So I got their attention, I think. Yeah.
So where do you see yourself with your music career and your artwork in 10 years from now? Where do you want to be?
In 10 years with music and art, I think I want to start merging the two. Because I noticed a lot of people on my art Instagram don't know that I'm a musician, and vice versa. My music page, they don't know I'm an artist. So what I want to do is start combining the two. Like I'm gonna take some of the songs on the CD, and I'm gonna start illustrating them. Maybe start depicting some of the lyrics in the song. Like I'll draw Mr. Nick, Lucifer. I'll draw him with his cool hat, the way he looks in the lyrics. Lovers and Liars, that could be a cool depiction. But yeah, I think I'm going to start illustrating them. I'm going to probably put out a little, for the next CD I'm going to include an art book that'll show some pictures, some of the lyrics and stuff. That's, I think, where it's going to go. But as far as performing, I'm going to start touring. Next year, I really can't announce right now, but next year there's something pretty cool. That's going to happen again with some fairly bigger bands. But yeah, I'd like to go tour the United States as well with this acoustic stuff.
Okay, my final question. If you could summarize everything that makes you who you are, failures, accomplishments, different turmoil you face in your life, what word would you use to summarize everything that encapsulates who Sammy Ruiz is, his music, his art?
Yeah, well, you know what? It sounds a little cliche, but I think it is very true. It's been adversity. Struggling through those hard times, because although those hard times do suck when you're going through them, you realize that's what makes you the person you are today. And if it weren't for those hard times, I wouldn't have good work ethics. I wouldn't have the drive to do all these things, because I do get tired. It's really extremely tiring and stuff. But I think, yeah, it's those hard times that made me appreciate the good times.
Wow.
That's been huge.
That's amazing. Hey, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
down.
man.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for playing that song. Guys, I love Ghost of LA. Not even joking. It's on my ringtone. I mean, it's such a great song. If you don't love it, then you didn't hear it right, because it's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Guys, his album is out now. Physical copies. They're going to be at Amoeba, if I'm not mistaken. It's amazing. Look at the artwork. He did the artwork. It has a bunch of hidden stuff, too. Yeah. Guys, pick it up. Thank you again.
Thank you, man.